After auditing well over $100 million in ad spend, this is the number one mistake I find brands making when they're running their Google Ads accounts or their agencies are running them. So, if we just dive in, I'm going to share a structure of what a typical Google ad account will look like. And so, what you'll have is you'll have the account and then you'll have several mixes of campaign types. Let's say this is an e commerce store and you have, let's just say, two different PMAX campaigns because maybe you have very specific focuses on different product types or categories. And then they'll have a shopping campaign and a search campaign, right? And maybe this search campaign is a mix of branded and prospecting. And the issue is that the conversions that these campaigns are getting are both a mix between branded and non-branded conversions. And that's the biggest issue is there's no segmentation or delineation on campaigns between non-branded conversions and conversions. And what happens when you have this issue in your account is you will see performance do really well. And then the second you try to scale it, it drops precipitously. And the reason for the drop in ROAS or performance or instability in performance is not because you scaled the budget 10%, 20%. It's because this week it was doing really good and you got good performance. Then you try scaling it next week and it did poorly because there wasn't as many branded conversions in there. And so when you're running an ad account and it has no delineation or mechanism for segmenting those campaigns or those non-branded and branded conversions out, it makes it near impossible to know what data is actually coming in, how incremental Google is, and then it makes it impossible to know how scalable a campaign is. And so I made this chart, and again, it'll show you what people's typical structure looks like. So conversions, they'll both be pulling in branded and non-branded, branded and non-branded, branded and non-branded. And the thing that works side by side with the scalability of campaigns is your target ROAS goal and your budget. However, if you are feeding a campaign branded and non-branded conversions, you're never going to be able to fully set the right target ROAS goal because when you're running a prospecting campaign, meaning you're getting conversions from people who've never heard about your brand, your target ROAS is always going to need to be lower. But when you're running a branded campaign, your TROAS goal, which in my opinion is the wrong bid strategy for a branded campaign in the start, is always going to be higher because Google knows they can get you a higher ROAS on branded conversions. And so now you're playing tug of war on what your target ROAS goal actually needs to be. So one, your target ROAS goal is not going to be set. You're going to have trouble scaling, and then you're never going to really understand what your true budget should be because your budget is going to be set fundamentally based on your search impression share. So let's go down to like the search campaign. If your search impression share, which is essentially just a metric in Google Ads that tells you how visible you are for the keyword or topic that Google is showing you for or that you're targeting. So let's just say you have your branded name and non-branded keywords in a search campaign. And let's say Google's saying that you have 55% impression share. Well, you're going to think, okay, I have more visibility to be gained. They're only saying I have 55% impression share. So easy thing is I'm going to increase my budget. I'm already getting, let's just say, a 4 ROAS. So I'm going to increase my budget and Google's going to consistently give me around this 3 to 4 ROAS. But what you'll notice is they don't. And the reason why is because if you dive deeper into that, the search impression share, the reason it's 55% is because you're maybe at 100% impression share on your branded terms, but you're at 30% impression share or whatever on your prospecting terms, on terms like, let's say you're, I don't know, a blanket company, best blankets online versus abcblankets.com, right? The prospecting term, non-branded term is going to have a lower impression share. So when you scale that campaign, you're going to increase your impression share on your non-branded efforts, but you're also going to decrease your ROAS and your performance on the campaign. But that's fine if you have an understanding of branded and non-branded performance. And the only way to do that, I'll show you my chart or my flow chart here in a second about how you would actually go about building this and doing this. And it's going to look very similar. Like you can have the same structure. So if I go in here and let's just say this is like literally the same exact structure. So maybe you have, again, two PMAX campaigns. The difference on these is maybe you have a really strong desire. In most cases, I'd actually recommend just one campaign, unless depending on your budget. But you'll have two different PMAX campaigns, different product categories, et cetera. But you're going to add an exclusion on anything brand terms, and you're only going to optimize for net new customers in this campaign. There's several settings in the back end of the PMAX campaign where you can exclude any brand terms, and you can optimize for net new customers within the PMAX campaign setup. So that's number one in terms of what you're going to want to do. And then number two, it's just adding a negative keyword exclusion on your brand term in PMAX. PMAX now allows for negative keywords to be added without going through Google support. And so you can add those directly to your own campaigns. And that's going to ensure perfectly clean swim lanes between non branded traffic and branded traffic. And so now, whenever you get conversions, they're all going to be non branded. And you can have confidence and say, hey, this campaign is getting a 3 ROAS. I, for 100% confidence, know that these conversions are coming from non branded efforts. They're not being lifted by my brand name, right? So now you'll have confidence to know that. And then also, it'll help you more appropriately set your target ROAS goal. And your scaling consistency and ability will be more smooth week over week. You may see a slight drop in your performance as you scale, which is completely normal, but at least you will know it has to do with you reaching colder and colder audiences, not you converting on branded. And then now all you're only doing is showing to cold, which is what you would do in the previous setup I showed. And then what you'll do after you set up non-branded campaign types is you'll have a branded structure, right? So I'd have a branded search campaign where I'm only targeting my brand name terms. A lot of companies already do this part really well, but not the branded shopping side. So for branded shopping, I would probably set up a branded shopping campaign because you have more control over the placement of your ads for branded terms versus PMAX. PMAX is going to show on display, on YouTube, in Gmail, on shopping, and on search. Shopping, brand, and search are really the only branded campaigns you need because those are the most important placements to be shown on Google for branded terms. And so you're going to do the same thing. Once you start getting data in your shopping campaign, you're going to start seeing different search terms that are triggering your shopping ads to show. Anything that doesn't have your brand name gets excluded. And then over time, that shopping campaign will be trained to only impression your brand term. And so now, again, when you look at your data, this does take a little bit of time to set up, but when you start looking at your data long term, you'll know, hey, I can only spend about $80 a day on this shopping campaign and maybe $80 a day on this search campaign, and I'm at 100% impression share. But I know with confidence we're showing 100% of the time and 100% of the time for our branded conversions. This is only a branded conversions campaign. And so this is the point at which we can scale it to, and you'll have confidence in that. And then on your non-branded campaigns, you'll have confidence in knowing, hey, we reach a very certain point of diminishing returns at this ROAS. So if we scale past this budget, ROAS will drop. And so you'll be able to confidently say that, and you'll be able to understand at what point you hit point of diminishing returns. But without that, and if you're implementing a structure like this, which again, probably 90+% of accounts are doing this already, you're making a fundamental issue that's going to prevent you from being able to scale and have true insights to what your potential for scale truly is. So feel free, let me know if you have any thoughts or questions. Hope this is helpful, and we will go from there. Thank you guys.